Welcome to this seminar about Chilean film with the title Focus Chile. Here on my left, I have Esteban Larraín, director of The Passion of Michelangelo, La Pasión de Michelangelo. You are welcome. And we have here François Margolin, which is a French producer, who has produced the film by Raúl Ruiz, The Night Across the Street, La Noche del Enfrente. And in the corner here we have Dominga Sotomayor, directed to Thursday to Sunday, or de jueves a domingo. You're very welcome. So here we have what we could say are representatives of two generations of Chilean filmmakers. We have the young Chilean filmmakers, and we have the producer to Raúl Ruiz. We don't have Raúl Ruiz here in person because he passed away last year. But François Margolin will be speaking on behalf of Raúl Ruiz, you could say. And this is typical and interesting when it comes to film from Chile, that we are talking about two generations, because up to the military coup in 1973, from 1973 to 1990, we didn't really have a film production in Chile. The filmmakers, they were active, had to turn elsewhere to make films, and a lot of them went into exile, and Raúl Ruiz was one of these filmmakers. Back in the 60s and 70s, the filmmaking in Latin America, well, one strand of filmmaking was called New Latin American Film, and they were talking about film in general from Latin America. And this was quite formally innovative, thematically radical, and often political filmmaking. And Raúl Ruiz is in some ways a representative of that vein of filmmaking. But today we have a new generation that has started to be prominent in the international film scene. So we will start off by talking a little bit about Raúl Ruiz, and then we'll go over to talk about how does it look today. And nowadays we don't really talk about new Latin American film. Now we talk about other new films. We say, for example, new Argentine cinema. We say new Brazilian cinema, and new Chilean film, new Chilean cinema. Started to talk about that the recent years. And we will see if we could dig a little bit deeper into what is this new cinema. How can it be characterized? At least from your perspective and your standpoint. So, if we start off with Raúl Ruiz, he's not just only one of the most famous filmmakers from Chile, he's also a renowned auteur in the international filmmaking, you could say. And he had a lot of experience from different cultures. And some people say that he is a French-Chilean filmmaker. How would you describe him as a filmmaker, François?
I don't know. I don't know because I'm not sure he's dead. So the title of one of his movies was called 3 Lives and 1 Death with Marcello Mastroianni. I think Raúl Ruiz had 3 lives. One in Chile, one in France, and one after a very big operation after the mysteries. He shot the Mysteries of Lisbon, and during this time he was alive during 1 year and a half, and it was the 3rd life, and 1 death, like everybody. So for me, Raúl Ruiz, I never think he was Chilean or French. He was a movie maker, cineast, I don't know him, and from the world. And I was very surprised because everywhere, in every country he was going, he was speaking immediately the language. We were together, for example, to present a movie called La Recta Provincia that I produced with the TVN, TV Chile. He was speaking all the time in Italian, very, very well. So In Portuguese, it was the same thing. In Spanish, evidently. In English, also, it's very different than me. I suppose he will speak in Swedish also, because he was spending a few months just after the coup of Pinochet in '73. It was the first country he was arriving, because Sweden was very friendly with Chilean refugees. I don't know exactly for different reasons, because first, Raúl Ruiz don't decide to go to France, to leave Chile. I suppose if it was no Pinochet, maybe he was staying in Chile, but he has the same career in the world, in all the festivals, in United States, in Asia, he will be the same, but he will stay in Chile. But his life was changed by a political event, the coup of Pinochet in '73. He was making movies before, very interesting movies. For example, La Expropriation, who is a very, very good movie, or Tristes Tigres, who won Léopard de Oro à Locarno. So he was making a lot of movies before that, and they were not exactly political. You were talking about the political aspect of the cinema in the 60s or 60s in South America, for example, the Brazilian, like Globe Rocha, it was very important, but in South America it was a lot of period with a big movie maker in Argentina in the 50s, in Mexico, Central America, but it's Latin America. In Mexico during the 40s and 50s, when Buñuel was in Mexico, for example, and also, so it was a lot of period during the when it was a lot of period with a very important movie maker and very important director. But Raúl Ruiz was very different of the others, because when he arrived in France, all the people, they wanted to help him. You are a poor Chilean refugee. We will give you money to make a movie. You have to speak about the exile of politics in Chile also. On the first movie he was doing, it was called Diálogos de Exilados, Dialogue d'exilés in French, inspired by Bertolt Brecht. And he was a big deception for all these people, because he was the character of the film. They were all people speaking and saying very bad things about exile, about the left, about all the. It was a big deception for the people. They were waiting a classical exile, and he wanted to cut immediately the thing with that. But for me, Raúl Ruiz is somebody who were more in the two cultures. He was very, very Chilean in Chile, very, very French in France, more than French people. He knew much more French culture than French directors. Not all, but a lot. And he was like, for me, like Zelig in the movie of Woody Allen. In the movie of Woody Allen, Zelig is more Chinese with Chinese, more he's black with the black. Raúl was a little like that, and maybe this morning when I was thinking about your question about exile, I was thinking there is something very specific in Raúl Ruiz's sense of exile. It's something like the Jewish people. Not exactly the same, but something like that. He don't choose the exile like Jews when the temple in Jerusalem was destroyed. But he was more somebody from the country we was living like Jews in Sweden, in France, in United States, in England, in everywhere, in Argentina, in Chile. So there is something like that, but it's not the same thing, also. But there is something parallel for me with that.
Yes.
You understand what I was saying? Yes, okay.
So you're saying that he had easy to adapt to different cultures, and he could live the exile in a specific way. So it was a bit different from other people in that sense, you mean?
Yes, because also he was talking about life in general. He was not talking about him, except in La Noche de Enfrente, his last movie. He was speaking for the future, for the future of movie. He trusts that movie was a very important art, not so important maybe than literature or paintings, but or music. But for him, he was very respectful with cinema, and he was thinking the cinema must be modern, must be new. And he don't like so much the film of today, the not Chilean or Argentine, all the movie, because he was thinking the people they change more, they have more they are more ambitious at the time of Jean Vigo or Jean Cocteau or Georges Franju or at Murnau, time long. He had a lot of admiration of the directors of the time who wanted to change the things in the way to, in the narration, in the way to tell stories or to not to tell stories in movie. He wanted to be against the 3 acts in the movie. The structure, yes. To destroy the structure of the movie. To start with the end and finish with the beginning. A lot of things like that. So he wanted to make movies for the future. And I think all the 120 or 150 movies he directed, he don't know exactly. They are the proof. They prove that he's alive, because it's alive with his movies.
When you're saying these things about trying to do something new with the structures of film, I know sometimes it was discussed in the terms of surrealism. He wouldn't have liked that himself. I'm not sure if you would characterize him as a surrealist either. But when I saw the latest film, this La Noche de Enfrente, I couldn't avoid thinking about surrealism when I was watching how he was using the characters and the dream life. This was not to do with reality, it was something else.
The people, they say it's surrealist or baroque. There's a lot of terms for Raoul Ruiz for his movies. It's true, it was very close from people like Borges, the Argentinian writer. He mixed a lot of things, but I think for me, I knew Raoul Ruiz since 10 years. The first time I was going to Chile, and I was going with him. So I discovered Chile, and I discovered that Chile was very close from the films of Raoul. Also, when he was shooting in his bathroom, not bathroom, salle de bain, comment on dit bathroom? In the bathroom, in the baignoire, in the bathtube. When he was in one of the second movie he was doing in Paris, he shot Valparaiso, the town of Valparaiso, in the bathroom of this apartment. This was a small bathroom. But it was important for him to... I discovered that all these 120 or 150 movies, they were like a documentary about Chile. It was not the result of very incredible imagination. He had an incredible imagination, but it was like a documentary about Chile, and especially about Chile of his very small part of Santiago, Providencia, where he was living with his mother and his father. And it was a documentary about that. His father was capitaine de bateau, boat captain. So he liked very much the pirate stories, the story about boat, about the sea, about all these important things for Chile, because Chile is very long. There's like 5,000 kilometers of sea in Chile. And I think it was only a documentary about that, because Chile is, but you know better Chile than me. Chile is, for me, is like a puzzle. It's like people coming from everywhere, and also Indians. They're still there, Mapuche. But there is in Santiago or in Valparaiso, you find German things. In South, you find Serbish or Croatian things. You find English things, English clubs in Santiago, or French things, and Spanish also. It's a mix of the different culture of the world. Also, I suppose there is Swedish things also. It's very yeah. So Chile is like that. Is like the imagination of Raúl is the Chile.
Yeah. Thank you. So you could say that he has always this part of him in Chile, even if he's in France. In France, I guess he's been quite prominent. He's been regarded as one of the most important filmmakers, and he's one of the well-known auteurs from this era. But when it comes to Chilean film, it hasn't been that much attention given to film from Chile during the film history, actually, when it comes to the international film studies market. Nowadays, there's been a lot of attention given to, for example, Argentine film, Brazilian film. A lot of scholars have been writing about these different cinemas. But Chile is still not that prominent when it comes to the critical side. But we do have started to talk about the new Chilean film. If we go to Esteban and Dominga here and say, do you have any connection to Raúl Ruiz to start off? Is he an inspiration for you in any way?
Yes, I mean, I also had this feeling that Raúl Ruiz is a filmmaker that is not from somewhere in specific. And there is something that for me is very important, that I had the feeling that cinema is the less nationalistic thing, like in the art or in everything. For me, everybody asks me, like, how do you feel as a Chilean woman filmmaker? Or how do you feel like a Latin American filmmaker? How do you feel like always trying to put you somewhere now? And for me, it's like, at least now I have the feeling that I'm making films connected with life. Well, I only have one film, but it's connected with something else. It's not has to do with something that is specific about a place. And I can feel some connection with Chilean filmmakers, but I can also feel some connection with international filmmakers. So I think there are like groups that doesn't have to do with the place that you are coming from. At least I grew up in a very unpolitical country. I was 4 years old when Pinochet left, and I'm not nationalistic. I was living in different parts of the world too, and I don't know if I was lucky or not, but I'm living in a world that is bigger than Chile, and I can also realize how Chile is like an island, and then it's very close, it's very conservative, and I feel that I'm interested in more like transcendental topics, in a way.
Yeah.
So maybe it's how I can connect a little bit with this idea of Raúl Ruiz.
Yeah. So if we think of this idea then that something is happening in Chile now, that we have what they call the Novissimo Cine Chileno, a new film, could you relate anything to that?
Could you what?
Do you think that is it true that you have a kind of new film if you compare to that, if you think of the international more than the national? Is there something happening, a new Chilean film?
There is something happening. I think it's not something new. It's like probably this story or this dictatorship that we had opened us to be a very neoliberalista, what do you say? Capitalist country. And how I feel Chile is like a reaction of the story. But we are the most capitalist country in maybe in all America, even more than the United States. So it's becoming a country very wealthy. At least in the first approach, you can see that we have it's a clean country. It's a country where most people have work, and it gives like a basis to think in art, because when you have when you need to eat, or when you need to go for work, then you are not thinking to make a film. So I think it's a country that in general is in a moment to grow up in the film industry. And we have this Chilean Film Fund that it has been very supportive since 10 years ago, maybe, or more. Mm-hmm.
Do you have a mic? Yeah. We can,
we had this film fund that is very supportive, and I think the result is this explosion of new films, because they support around 10 films or 15 films per year. And so now in 10 years we have if we had 2 or 3 films per year, now we have 20 or 30 if we count with more small films. And I think it also has to do with the opening of new universities. We had these 2 programs of cinema in the 2 main universities in Chile now. They had something like this before, but with Pinochet they were closed. And 4 years ago we reopened these 2 universities. That for me is something quite significant too. But still I have the feeling that as we have more and more films, we have the same people going to the cinema. So there is a problem in the basis, because they're supporting a lot of production, but still not in the culture of Chile to go to the cinema. And so now I think the main issue now in Chile is how we are thinking distribution and how we can plant in the education that cinema is part of life.
Thanks. Esteban, what do you say about this new Chilean film, your relation to this idea?
Yeah, mostly I agree with Domingue. I think maybe in difference to the recent new Argentinian filmmakers, we are not a bunch of friends or telling the same big, great story about Chile, etc., etc. We are mostly individuals, I think, telling stories about ourselves or about our point of view of living, human condition, etc., etc. Among them, there are those who actually are most interested, maybe in social issues, regarding Chile. Others more intimacy subjects. But I think the one thing which is in common, that the storytelling, it's so fresh. I think this is. I can like or not like many Chilean movies, because nowadays there are many movies. But I think one thing is they're very fresh. They're very refreshing. Since Chile is very, in a way, modern and very linked to the world through, internet, Amazon, eBay, etc. We have nowadays we can have the choice of being influenced by Indian filmmakers, or Finnish filmmakers, Swedish, not only the Argentinian or Global Rocha, or maybe we're very connected to other influences, not only cinema, arts in general, or trendings in other countries. So I think this is a characteristic, and the other thing I think we are very aware. We are now we are a kind of vedette, the new vedette of Latin American cinema. Festivals like this new Chile cinema, and in a way we are in a kind of orphans, asking always from who is going to finance our next film. So in a way we are balancing between the Chilean fundings, which has a taste, they can choose what kind of film they're going to be made the next year, and the international fundings, which have another kind of style, and give money for that kind of production. So I think we are in a way very conditioned from the way we're going to do our next movie, and I think some have the choice of. We are very young filmmakers. We are the mostly of us making our first, second, even third top movie. So nowadays I'm most interested in the next films that we're going to do in the future. But I think it's going to be a kind of next step in storytelling, because so far they have been, in a way, a kind of irresponsible movies. In a way, we have not very committed to get big audiences. It's not our deal. This is, in a way, the statement that we have. But I think we're going to be forced, in a way, to do something, because actually we cannot make, little talented film, because no one can keep that path, forever. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see the next films of this generation, because they've been forced, in a way, to do something to broke actually this kind of divorce between ourselves and the Chilean audience, because they're already a kind of love story between Chilean cinema and festivals and foreign audience. And we have to take advantage of this, because this is going to be an end, and maybe it's going to be next year, and the next vedette of Latin American cinema is going to be the Peruvian one. It's like this. There's a waves, of taste. So I think we have to take advantage of this situation and be, clever, be honest with our propositions, and I don't know. I am very interested in the next film we all going to make.
Yeah. So to conclude here, you say that you have a diverse number of filmmakers that are interested in different subjects, not really a group of filmmakers. You're a lot of single filmmakers. You get funding from either international funding or from the local funding. And it is also a question about how to reach the local audience. So you say the local audience hasn't really caught up to the films yet.
Yeah, I think it's been a very maybe and justified way of thinking about how a Chilean film looks like. Because actually it's been true that after the end of Pinochet in the early 90s, there have been a lot of film, who keep maybe denouncing that Pinochet is a bad person. And we already knew that, and they're all kind of sad stories, and in a way people was a little, enough of sad stories, because the sadness was in real life. And also the transformation of Chile in a very, as Dominga just said, very, very liberal and capitalistic country has shaped our taste, or the big audience taste, for the typical American filming. So there's a kind of prejudice in face for this Chilean movie, that they are thinking this out. Another sad, slow, boring Chilean movie. You know, so in a way we have to find the way to break that image, and I think we are doing that. Nowadays, actually, the film could be very good for festivals and at the time very entertainment. You know, I think in Joven de Loca and others.
I think that not only in Chile, the people was kind of in use of this kind of films, very sad or in the same direction. It was also something that the festivals or Europe was expecting about Chilean cinema. So I think now what I like is that there is a lot of different kind of films. So I'm not sure if it's a wave or not, because I cannot connect the films that are doing well in festivals. There's Wild and Young, kind of a comedy that was in Sundance and was very successful. Then there's Violeta Went to the Heaven, or I don't know, it's very different kind of films that are doing quite well in festivals. So I like that you don't know what you can expect about the Chilean film. I think there's less political films probably, more like how is Chile now, like more like intimate also. Like there are a lot of personal films, but personal in different ways, and I think it's different of, for example, when you talk about Romanian films or Argentinian films, you almost can see colors of or ways you can relate all the films in the same mood. And I like that Chile is still in a very like explosive moment where you cannot, we're not going in the same direction. It's the feeling that I have at least. And for me, this doesn't need to be like, I mean, it's not that we are not doing a political act. I think even a small film which is about a family or about a kid or about a specific person, as is a point of view of someone that's doing in public, for me it's a political act, you know, like it doesn't need to be about Pinochet. We are talking about how we are looking life, and it's also something about politics and how we navigate the world, and important to say.
So it's about breaking free from the expectations on how a film should look like, and that you actually could do ideas of your own political in other ways than the people actually expect.
And I think we are kind of afraid of what will happen with the Chilean fund, because all these films that had been successful abroad were first supported by international funds. I can talk, for example, of my first film, this one that is in the festival. It's an example, but I think it works the same with you and other filmmakers.
First abroad and then local.
Yes, we went outside. I was in Cannes, in the Cine Fundación residence. You were there too. So we were writing the film there. Then, for example, in Rotterdam support us. Then we had an international co-producer. And then we arrived to Chile and was like, okay, if Cannes say okay, we will say okay. But it's not I don't think it's the kind of film that they wanted to support. So it's the films that we are looking now in festivals. There are films that were first discovered by the outside and then supported in Chile. And so, yes, I think the Chilean fund are trying to make more commercial films, but they don't know that the more author films are also the films that are looking Chile outside, like our films. They are looking in the local audience, and the local audience doesn't exist. So it's like so even if it's a commercial film, it will not be commercial. Maybe it's better to still support this kind of film that go abroad, and then maybe the people will be enthusiastic about watching because it was in Cannes or it was successful abroad first. My English is a bit a bit.
What do you say about the audience, Listval? Is it possible to reach local audience?
Yeah, they're idiots. No, I'm joking. I think, yeah, actually, it's tough, you know. Chile, it's I'm very majadero, but it's the Chilean audience is a tough audience. Like, you know, we are like the humorist trying to making laugh a tough audience. We have the main hobby in Chile, more than sport and walking in the park, it's watching television. And the television in Chile, it's a disaster. They shape the point of view and the taste and the news and the television. In Chile, the cultural offer, it's been growing and growing and growing in quality and quantity, etc. But in a way, we are all fighting against this stupid way of thinking, which is a direct consequence of the economic system and political system also. And there's a thing. The Chile is getting wealthier and wealthier, richer and richer. In a way, before the elite, those who actually went to watch good, cinema or theater, etc. Nowadays, people can afford actually go to the theater and go to the other arts, and maybe the same, process of getting rich. The middle class, it's having the choice of going maybe to the cinema, and in a way the new generation, the young people maybe can atreverse, dare actually to taste new cinemas like ours, but it's very tough. It's a big three-headed monster we have to fight in Chile, which is a whole cultural system. It's not in our favor. It's tough.
But I think it's not just about Chilean audience for Chilean films. I think we don't have the culture, the education about cinema, about another kind of cinema, like just American films. And I wanted to say something.
Actually, Chilean cinema is very rare to see in national television.
Yes.
For example, it's
yes.
It's not mandatory for the television get involved in cinema production, or not even by Chilean cinema. It's just in a way the most popular films are bought by the television, but a very awarded film, international with a quality tasted. It's not going to be bought by the television immediately.
So the people is not used to see another kind of films, and for example, it's not about a little successful Chilean film. For example, A Separation, this Iranian film, won like many awards. It wasn't released in Chile, and if it's released, it will have like 4,000 viewers. It's not about just Chilean films. I mean, it's about good quality and a different kind of cinema, world cinema. There's not space in Chile for it.
Yeah, I remember the last, I don't know, the last or the Palme d'Or film, in Cannes, has not guaranteed the distribution in Chile. It's
Amour?
Amour, yes.
Amour, yes, but that afterwards doesn't.
Apitapong?
Which one?
No, the Apitapong or
the Apitapong? No, that's
no. The white plant. The other one of Hanek.
I think don't.
So it's a big obstacle then to try to actually create a film culture, you could say. And it's not only about audience, it's not only about screening, it's not only about showing on television, it's a lack of a film culture. And that could be connected to the fact that film production was not living during the dictatorship. So it was actually halted.
Maybe
or would you say that it's deeper than that?
Sorry?
Runs it deeper than that? Is it more problematic than it just was halted? Has there ever been a huge film culture in Chile, you would say?
If I understand you well, that you say that it is stopped to good. Yeah, and it's something that maybe takes time, and now there is another things to do rather than cinema. The people is looking for the telephone, the cinema. I don't know. It's a mix of things.
Yeah.
But my sister of 13 years old is in Facebook and is probably I don't know, doing another thing. If they go to the cinema, it's because they wanted to see like 3D or something that they cannot see in home.
So it's how to compete with films in a modern capitalist society. Yeah. Do you have any input on this, Francois, as a producer?
I wanted to ask you, No from Pablo Larraín is successful in Chile?
It was successful, but for example, it has like, I will say something that is not concrete, but 200,000 viewers, maybe. But now it will be re-released because it was nominated to the Oscars. It will put it better. But Machuca, for example, how we are going down, Machuca has like 300,000? More. 600,000 in Chile, and now Violeta, like a same kind of film is going like.
Yeah, a big success in Chile 10 years ago was around 1 million or 800,000. And today it's a big success is
300.
Yeah, 300, and it's wow.
And a film like, for example, a film like Bonsai, which was in Un Certain Regard, was an international co-production that went very well in festivals. It has like 4,000 spectators.
Actually, it's a funny thing in distribution strategies. Before we thought if we had a film selected in many festival awards, etc., it's going to be a good thing for our marketing to be before being released in Chile. Nowadays, we are in a way hiding this aspect of the film, you know, because if people see award in festival, blah, 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 say, oh, so boring, the classical festival movie. So actually, I'm going to release my film now in March, and I'm going to hide anything about co-production festivals or.
Doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything. Actually, I think it's the opposite. I think actually Bonsai, who was very fine movie, selected in Cannes, an award, had a very hard distribution with just 4 copies, and it got 1,000 viewers. Really a sad situation, and it was a kind of standard of finest Chilean film.
And the only big success was No, it's kind of a success because it's Gael Garcia and it was in the Oscar. I mean, it's not all kind of films. It's still
No
like
was
third, fourth film.
Was thought as a international success, etc.
And it's more accessible. It's like a more traditional story.
It's more popular, yeah.
And then I think that the success in Chile is related with something that is not connected with cinema. If a film is success, it's, for example, Violeta, because the people know Violeta Parra, or because the father wanted to show the kids who is Violeta Parra, but it's not something like just cinematographic. It's always like because noise was the campaign, or
you need the connection to the motive and the theme, so you really know what it's about, and then it's interesting to go and see it.
They're always looking to some big theme.
Yeah, I wanted to say two things about Chilean movies. Actually, I'm sure there is interest of the rest of the world for South American movies, from Argentina, from Ecuador, from Colombia, from Peru, from Brazil. In the future, I'm sure, because I was in many festivals. For example, in San Sebastian, there is now a market of the project coming from South America. It's quite the same thing in Busan, in Korea. So there is a very big interest in the big festivals, or on small also. For the wholesale agent, they are very interested to earn the project. It was not the same thing in the past. So that is the first thing. The second thing, it's what you're saying about distribution. It's everywhere in the world, the same problem. In France too. In France, all the people, they say it's the best country for distribution of movies. It's going worse and worse. But it's better than here, I suppose. It's better than in Chile. It's better than in Spain, where the distribution is absolutely broken. On the Spanish movies are not in the movie theater. They are in festivals, but not in the movie theater. And it's the same thing. For example, you were talking about Iranian movie. Kiarostami, who is the most famous Iranian director for the rest of the world, they don't know him in Iran. They know Kiarostami only because he kissed Catherine Deneuve on the scene in Cannes when it was a big scandal in the Iranian TV because it's forbidden to kiss a woman if this is not your wife. So it's the only reason. But after this new wave of Iranian movies, it was a big success, the separation. We were a big success also in Iran. It was a big success in all the countries. He won the Oscar, he won the César in France. But it was 2 million of people in Iran. They were going to see the movie. So I think new wave with a lot of waves are always very interesting because in the new wave, after few years, there is always a success. It was the same with the Nouvelle Vague in France. The first film of Jean-Luc Godard, of Claude Chabrol, of François Truffaut were not very successful. But after a few years, Truffaut had some very big success, also commercial success. Godard also, with 1 or 2 movies like Le Mépris. I don't know. So I think it's very important also for commercial things, new waves, because it's a sign of, or symbol of a new way, new ideas, new things in movies. And I think it's very important also. Also, if you're not well distributed in your country, in France it's the same problem.
So the attention and the critical attention and the people are talking about new ways is important in the sense that it could be something that gives fruit in the future. Yeah?
And what we are kind of afraid, I think, is that in Chile they are not. They don't know what is the cinema that is being successful outside. So I think there is like a contradiction between what they are supporting and what is the cinema that is the new cinema that is successful, you know. So I know I have doubts because I don't know if our second or third film will be supported by the Chilean fund. I had the feeling that they are pushing the industry in another direction, and in a direction that doesn't have any audience in Chile neither. So I can see the potential that has Chilean films in general outside. I see also festival as a way to show the film, because in Chile, I know that my film will not be successful. I mean, it will be released, but if I have 8,000 spectators, I will make a party. I mean, it's like, huh?
With the 8,000 people.
Yeah, with the 8,000. So of course, they say, you are going to 60 festivals. Yeah, maybe in Chile they are not counting how many people is seeing the film outside, but probably.
I want to tell a funny story. Sure. My last film, called Alice in the Land, was world premiere in Locarno, and Locarno has a very big. It's not even a theater, a kind of big construction where you can put 6,000 people. So at the time of yes. So at the time of the premiere, in a way of joking, I say, "Thank you very much for being here. Most probably we are going to be, this audience is going to be much bigger than I'm going to have in all my distribution in Chile." And it was like that. Actually, I went to Chile and I made around 400 people, 4,000 people. So in just one screening in Locarno, I made more spectators than in the whole distribution in Chile.
Yes.
It's not really a funny story.
It's nowadays it's funny for me.
No, but in festivals you can make like 50,000 viewers in a year. Yeah. Our films are in many festivals. My film in a year was in 60 festivals. And just in Rotterdam was the first one. It was also 4,000 viewers. So if you make like a Zoom, in Chile they are not counting at all these trips. It's like, yes, but I think it's a possibility of distribution too. but now we are losing our the illusion of a first film where you are not thinking about anything about the audience, and then you realize that now for me thinking in a second film I lose the innocence about this.
So the first film you have a lot of other things to think about, but it gets more important when you continue filming.
Yes, and it's also important how to think in production in order of the distribution. If you have a French partner of the film, then it's easier to distribute the film in France, for example. I mean, it's not just to find money outside, it's also that if you have a French partner, then the film is French-Chilean, and you can apply for distribution in France, in Chile, and try to make it wilder.
Yeah. So is that a good way to continue, try to get co-financers, co-productions?
Yes, I suppose, but as you know, in Europe there is a crisis, economic crisis in Europe, and so they destroyed the budget for French Fonds Sud. For example, Fonds Sud was to help film of South countries. I suppose it's the same thing in Ibermedia. No, I don't know exactly, but
Ibermedia is going to disappear in 1 year.
Disappear, yeah. Raul Ruiz was against, but he don't want to ask Spanish people anything. But it's because he was saying he was Mapuche, so against the Spanish people. But so all the helps in France, in Spain, in Germany, a little less, but they are disappearing. So I don't know exactly what will happen with with the world cinema, with the cinema coming from outside of Europe and United States, on China or Japan. So I don't know in the future. I think the only solution will be to find money in the country of South. I don't know. It depends where you are to say South, but of the south of the world. So I don't know what will happen, because really in France it will be much more difficult to co-produce with other countries. And Raoul Ruiz was really an exception because he was French, so it was not a co-production. But La Noche de Enfrente is a co-production between Chile and France, but it's a very specific movie. It's the history of the financing is not normal, so it's.
Sometimes I feel that we are not talking too much about this, and it's amazing how it's a big issue. Like I don't know. Some friend told me we are doing like the opera of the future. In a way, we are doing like something that is going to be for a very small niche of people, and so I'm thinking in other kind of projects, also to mix cinema with art in another platforms also for to make your work visible.
Yeah. So we're actually soon out of time, but I think we should let the audience ask a few questions. Mm-hmm. So if there are any questions out, over here we have.
Hi, hello. I just would like to talk in defense of the Chilean audience. I grew up in Chile, and I will say it's very hard for working class or lower middle class to consume culture in Chile because the prices are just not reachable, not just in cinema, books, theater, you name it. It's very, very expensive, and I think that's a problem that is kind of political. I know that you as filmmakers cannot do so much about it, but you should have it into consideration too when you are producing, maybe trying to reach deals or something so that the people you want to see your movies could have access to it, because the price is one side and the information is another side, that if you are not used to consume culture, then it's very, very difficult to know where to go to see these movies, how to reach it, how to see this. So I don't think it's just as easy to say, no, they don't want to see our movies. I think it's more complex than just an issue about taste.
Yeah, the thing is, for us, it's quite difficult to have a film in a traditional cinema, because there were some little cinemas, but now this big multiplex didn't give any space to the Chilean films, or maybe they give us the VIP, the more expensive screening, so it's worse. Actually, I was talking with some friends. We should ask to the cinemas to have a special price for Chilean films, for example. But it's something that sometimes is bigger than us. Like how to deal with distribution, and how also in the press there is not too much space for these things. But I agree that it's very expensive, and theater too, and yeah, it's one of the reasons too.
Yeah, I am agree. We can make another seminar about distribution in Chile, because there's a kind of monopoly. There's just one or two distributors who work with Chilean cinema, and they control actually the offer for this multiplex. It's in a way it's a kind of hostage situation, but it could be keeping complaining about cinema. I'm not going to do that, but yeah, it's very difficult. And no, actually, the whole system condition or force the director to make more entertaining movie, because otherwise you're going to only have a little limited distribution, or not at all. Actually, for the last year, for 55 films made in Chile, I think just 12 or 13 went to the movies, and from those, I don't know, the most part of it last in cinemas 1 or 2 weeks, top. So it's and only those a little more commercial kept comedies like I don't know, the Chileans knows the Rumpi last 4 weeks, and No was an exception. And last year was a huge phenomenon about another comedian who make a movie about his own characters, and they made, you know, the 2.5 million spectators, you know, and an alien. It was difficult to understand in the whole Chilean cinema reality. And
then the cinemas say, but you want to be separated, like in another kind of cinema, but Chilean cinema can be at the same time, like this comedy or like No. And we are not in the same situation. I think there should be like another group of cinemas, another way to screen also. Maybe a cinema more like cozy, when you can be with the audience talking a little bit. In these big cinemas, there's not a space of this. And it's, I don't know. I don't think it's the way that we wanted to screen a film.
And a diferencia de, I don't know how to say that, a diferencia de? In difference from France, where even as a politic of a state, the cinema is considered a very important thing. In Chile, it's just a consuming product. So the state is not get involved in market. You know, cinema is considered as a shampooing or a car. So it's just being live for the market, the market laws. So actually, we have signed treaties with the United States, and that treaties actually forbid us for, I don't know, make cinemas just for Chilean movies, because that would be dumping, or reduce price for Chilean cinemas, dumping again. And actually, if the United States could be very hard with us, actually they could actually forbidden our supporting system for cinema, because it's also dumping against the North American movies. So it's a tough situation from the beginning.
I think it's always the same. I mean, if they have like Cars 3 in a 3D, and then they put a Chilean film there, they're losing money, and it's just this. Like.
We had another question over there.
Hi. I used to work with Alfonso Cuarón, and about 10 years ago, somebody was asking him, you know, why Mexican cinema was suddenly blowing up worldwide. And he said that his theory was that between 20 and 30 years after a country goes through any kind of, you know, political turmoil or uprising or a change of regime, that's when the best art and the best cinema is going to come out, and there's going to be like growing pains while the rest of the country gets used to basically this more artistic form of mass entertainment, and then it becomes like a player in the global world. And do you feel like, you know, he says basically that the filmmakers making a splash were the ones who found their voices during moments of turmoil. And so I was curious if you feel that Chile is maybe following the same pattern in terms of not only the filmmakers and their voices, but maybe you could also use that to project where it might be headed, say in like 10 years, that it's going to be just a more known entity in the global film market once it kind of gets through growing pains of finding a voice.
You work with someone in Mexico who said it takes 30 years to, después de 30 años, allí sí que las películas salen bien. Bueno, más o menos. Y justamente usted siente que ahora que están ahí, yendo allí, como que a eso van.
No, porque después de la dictadura. I had the feeling that always the distance, I don't know if I will answer your question very well, but that now we're making films with the distance of the dictatorship. So maybe there was a lot of films very attached and very like with this need to go outside because there was like a reality there to shoot, like a necessity, like a political necessity to do films. And now we are like starting to go inside ourselves, making films that maybe the reality is not the most complex thing now. It's inside us. And for me, it's also a good process to come back to take some distance. There is still some political films, but with another view, like, and a little bit more detached. And our generation was less connected with all these problems or political issues, so we can have like another perspective. And yeah. I don't know.
Ya que, I'm going to ask in Spanish, ya que el público es muy chico en Chile, ¿por qué no hacen películas para la internet? Porque cada persona que quiere ver a sus películas por la internet pueda. So why aren't they making things for the internet so they can get to a bigger audience?
I think there is some of these ideas. For me, I mean, I grew up with internet, but I was 15 years old when I started. So I'm not used to watch things in internet. Maybe my little brother, which is also studying cinema, is more into this. But I still have the illusion of the big screen, and at least I'm doing this because I like this moment. So for me, it will take some time to realize this, and I don't know if I will be able to do it.
Also, there is a small problem with the internet. There is no money on the internet. No? There is no money. How you finance the movie if the film are free on the internet? It's the value of a movie is going down immediately if the movie is on the internet. If the movies they will be on internet immediately, nobody want to finance in the future. It can happen for 2 or 3 films. After 2 or 3 films, it's finished. No, they destroy the system of financing of press sales of the movie. So it's a very big problem.
And it's another language, I think.
Yes, until the moment the people they will accept to pay on the internet, but for the moment it's not clear.
But why to pay if you can download it by free? And I think I'm really into understand new platforms. I think it's something that we are all thinking about, but it's another language. You are doing another thing, which is, it will take a time for us to understand what is the kind of things that we can do there and could be interesting for the audience.
But in Chile, we have so many new filmmakers that actually those who couldn't reach the cinemas, actually they're already assuming that they're going to just have the internet as a platform of viewing. And this year, actually, it was a first. We had the first feature fiction that was conceived to be shown in internet, and a very good one actually, called I don't remember. La de Marín, el basquetbolista.
¿Cuál?
El basquetbolista, ¿cómo se llama?
Ah, the class student or
Sí.
the sport teacher.
Yeah, anyway,
something like this.
it's a very good film. And the other filmmakers, even if they have not internet from the origin in mind, they having this, they put in Facebook and Twitter, etc. Okay, attention guys, we're going to release our film in this blog or etc. So it's a kind of very militant way of doing cinema. I think it's not the better way. Actually, it's very unfair to force the people to make this kind of all free for the spectator cinema. It's not because they're going to make one film and then they're going to just continue to do another work. It's and I think unfairly we have now a kind of boom of filmmakers. This fashion of filmmaking has produced. Nowadays we have if 10 years ago or 8 years ago we had 1 or 2 or 3 cinema schools. Nowadays in Chile we have around 30 school of cinemas, and you can multiply the quantity of filmmakers going out of these schools. So we have this kind of boom, unfair of filmmakers who actually are going to have they're going to make one film and then quit. It's and nowadays actually we have many filmmakers in a very Darwin way. They cannot be for such a little country so many filmmakers or journalists or psychologists or lawyers.
We still don't have many filmmakers with more than 3 films. I think we are like we have like 50 filmmakers with 1 film.
Which is the same in France. If you see the statistic, a bunch of filmmakers with the first, the half or the third with a second, and then with a third, and then none.
You are better than me.
Yeah, I am a successful filmmaker in Chile. I made 5 films.
I see our time is actually up, but it's a good final word to see what happens with how many films will you do in the future. What will happen with the Chilean films when they start to make more films than just 1 or 2? Will it be possible, and what will then happen? Are we still going to talk about a new Chilean film in the future?
But I think we all have a B plan as a filmmaker. we are a B plan. Someday we're not going to reach our financing or whatever, and we have to do another thing. I'm, at least in my case, I'm very conscious about that. Making a movie is always a dream accomplished. It's not normal to make a film. It's not I'm a filmmaker. I'm a shoemaker. No, it's a very extraordinary thing.
I think we're all thinking in projects rather than films. Maybe it will be like an exhibition, a restaurant, a film, but it's like...
I'm thinking a restaurant.
So thank you very much for taking part in this conversation, and thank you for listening.
Thank you.